That's what I'm talking about. Come on, sucker. Let's get it on.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and of course, degenerates of all ages. Welcome to a special edition, and I mean special edition, of That Fuzz and Rock Show tonight. And I have been on the edge of my seat since I recorded this to get it out there. I actually could have put it out earlier, but today's the day, folks. It's Judas Priest Day. Of course, I'll be talking with Richie Faulkner of Judas Priest. They are coming to town locally, MVP Arena. It's the Judas Priest 50 Heavy Metal Years Tour. Saturday, October 15th, 8 p.m. with special guest Queensryche at the MVP Arena. There's still tickets available, guys, so make sure you're checking that out. If you are outside of the 518 area, check your local venues because they are going to be doing a few more shows anyways on this tour. So check your local venue for availability. I can remember the first album that I ever bought was Screaming for Vengeance. That was the first one that I ever bought personally, was Screaming for Vengeance. I've seen Priest a couple times on tour anyways, 2 or 3 maybe. Killer show, unbelievable show. So make sure you guys are going out. You don't want to miss this show. It's going to be a hell of a show. 50 years, long time for these guys. So I won't hold you guys up anymore. I'll get right to it, guys. Enjoy this because I know I did. This is probably one of the biggest ones that I've done so far. And it was definitely a pleasure to do it. So without any further ado, here we go. Check it out. Guys, we have an incredible one for you here today, guys. We are with no other than Richie Faulkner from the mighty and powerful Judas Priest. Richie, my brother, how are you doing, man? Good to see you.
I'm doing very well, brother. Good to be here. Good to talk to you.
I appreciate you taking your time out of your busy schedule to hang out with us. And I'm not going to waste any of your time. We're going to get right into it. you're about to go back out on tour, 50 Heavy Metal Years tour. Locally, you guys are going to be the second stop on the tour. It's the Albany, New York stop, MVP Arena. How's everybody doing? Are you guys ready to come out and kick America's ass?
Everyone's doing great. I mean, we were born to kick everyone's ass, man. You know that. I joined the band. One of the prerequisites when I joined the band was, can you kick everyone's ass? And hopefully, they let me in because of that. But no, we've got a couple of days rehearsal before we fire up. We've got a few new songs going into the set list, which differ from the first time round in the States. We like to keep things a bit different second time round, and we'll keep them. If you want to keep them secret, or I can tell you what a couple of them are. It's up to you. But
let's. You got to go out to the show to see the secrets, guys. And if you haven't seen a pre-show, you haven't seen a show. Trust me. So you guys got to get out there. MVP Arena, guys, and everybody else. Please check your local venues for availability for this show, because you're not going to want to miss it. So not only do you have my admiration, but the admiration of millions, and yes, I will speak for everybody out there, as probably being one of the most badass musicians out there ever. You had on stage an aortic aneurysm, and you knew something was wrong, but you kept on going. Let's talk about that for a minute. I mean, damn, man. Like, wow.
Well, I think I didn't know what it was. And I think part of that's what you do. I think if I'd have known what it was, I'd have gone off. I mean, if I'd have known how serious it was, and that every second I was up there was kind of diminishing the odds that I have of literally being alive, I'd have got off. But that's what you do. It's your duty. The fans are there, the crew's there, the band's there. That's your duty, And I knew there was something wrong. I thought it was a heart attack. There's something in the chest that was obviously wrong. There's not a lot really, I thought, that could go wrong in that kind of area, and I was a bit lightheaded. So I thought, I'm having a small heart attack. Obviously, it transpired later on it was something else. But luckily, it was the last song of the set. Metallica were playing after us. We had a short set that night, but I think that if it was a normal set of an hour and 40, I would have carried on. That's the deal, you play until you can't play no more. And I think I would have done exactly that and gone down on stage. So luckily, that didn't happen. And medics were there, and the rest is history.
Definitely. Absolutely. So now healthy, everything's good now. You're good to go.
Well, now, I mean, you asked the question. I've actually just come back from cardiac rehab this morning. I had to go in again for another open heart surgery about 5-6 weeks ago. They found something just before the European leg, and it was basically a hole in the repair, and there was a leak. I basically sprung a leak in there, and it was causing a sac to form around my heart. So they found it just before the European leg, and the surgeon said it was okay for me to do Europe. But I was actually, touring Europe, playing Europe with this sac and a leak inside there. But what that meant was, when I got back from Europe 2 days later, I was back in the hospital for another open heart surgery. And I've been recovering since then. So again, the surgeons and the doctors, they were all saying that it was enough recovery time to be able to recover before the next group of dates, mid-October. So, and I'm doing well. As I said, I was in cardiac rehab this morning. I feel fit. I feel strong. But that's obviously why we had to. There was a festival in Sacramento that we had to bail out of, because I wouldn't have been able to do it. I needed that. That 8 or 9 weeks recovery time. I can't remember what the festival was called now, but that's why we had to pull that festival. So yeah, but I'm doing well, feeling strong, feeling healthy. But yeah, it was a bit daunting, to be honest, to be touring Europe, knowing that there was that going on inside. But
I'm sure.
You got to put your trust in the doctors, and it worked out okay. I'm recovering. And looking at this now, it almost looks like the priest. Where is it? This way. It almost looks like the priest symbol from where.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. Absolutely. You did that on purpose. Come on.
But anyway, I'm doing
that on purpose, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But no.
So
and looking forward to it.
We were talking a little bit earlier, and it's a year today
A year today. I actually had a
happened.
friend of mine call me up a couple of days ago, wishing me a happy birthday. It's like, because it's like I got a new. It's almost like, you know, because they literally turn my brain off. They bypass the heart, so it's almost like you die.
Right.
So it's almost like they bring you back to life, and you get a new. It's like almost like your second life, almost. So you know, half jokingly, just wish me a happy birthday, because it's almost like I was born again. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's like an anniversary, birthday, whatever you want to call it. But it's been a tough year. But I've had a great support system, both at home and the surgeons and the doctors and everything, and
Sure.
also the band and everything, and also the fans. The fans have been super supportive, and
Awesome.
I can't thank everyone enough.
That's awesome. So now you took KK's place in the band in 2011. How did that come about? How did you get the gig in Priest?
It was, they say it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Right.
It was someone I knew that the crew knew. So I played with a guy called Pete Friesen, who used to play in Alice Cooper's band, and we used to play together in a cover band. And he also used to play with a band called The Almighty with Ricky Warwick, and the crew worked with them. So it was like this sort of network of people that knew each other.
Sure.
And they actually asked Pete if he was up for doing it. And for one reason or another, Pete, declined. And I asked him if he knew anyone that could try out for the gig. And I think he gave them a few names, and mine was one of them.
Wow.
So that but I think it was an old number. I hadn't seen Pete for a few years, since the cover band.
Mm-hmm.
We used to play in the cover band.
Sure.
And so I think they reached out to Iron Maiden's production. And I worked with Lauren Harris, who was Steve Harris's daughter. And we've been on the road with Maiden for a couple of years. And they asked the production if anyone had my number, and luckily they had an up-to-date number, and they called me that way. They got hold of me. So luckily they were a little bit persistent,
Oh, absolutely.
Otherwise I would have missed the gig and not known anything about it. You know what I mean?
100%.
I wouldn't be talking to you today, which would have been a very sad day indeed.
True story. Absolutely. So now, how was it stepping in? Now, I know it's got to be tough. I mean, they're big shoes to fill, let's be honest. Did they expect you to go like note for note, or did they just say like, obviously you have to stick with the skeleton of the song, but they were just kind of like, do your thing, or did they want you to like note for note nail this thing?
Well, they told me they didn't want a clone, which is funny, really, after what I've been called by a few people. But they said they wanted me to do my own thing. Because I thought initially it was a temporary thing. I thought it was just for a leg of the tour that Ken couldn't do. But they said they wanted someone with their own gear, their own guitar, their own sound. They didn't want me to, I thought I was going to be plugging into Ken's stuff and just doing, a few weeks or whatever.
Sure.
But they wanted someone. They wanted someone as part of the band. They wanted someone to do their own thing. So, and they didn't really tell me, play this, don't play that, play this, don't play that. I mean, as I said earlier on, I played in a cover band. So I used to play that way. I used to kind of copy things note for note sometimes. And then other times I used to kind of do my own thing. Put
your spin on it, sure.
Yeah. And that's a fine line. Some people do that too much and some people don't do it enough. There's no right or wrong way of doing that. It's just what, some people say I do it too much, some people don't do it enough, and that's just everyone's own personal preference.
Right.
But I think I guess it worked out for the band. The band thought I was doing it the right amount. I always put little motifs in that I think should always be there. Between me and you, it's the bits I can't play that I do my own thing on. I can't work that out. I can't play that. So like I just, I'll artistic license,
Right.
No, but so yeah, it's a bit of both really.
So how long is the current tour schedule you have? How long is this going to be? How many dates do you know? Or
we start on the 13th of October. and we go through, I think, to the end of November. Then we have a few days off, and then we hit South America until I think the 17th of December. And then we're off for the rest of the year. So it's a good, I guess it's like a month and a half, like, 6 weeks or so. So yeah, as I said, I think it was going to be a bit longer than that originally before we announced it, because of the recovery. We had to, shorten it a little bit.
Sure. Yeah.
But again, that's the support of the band that I was talking about. They were like, if we have to shave a little bit off the front for your recovery, we'll do that. So
that's awesome.
So yeah, so we're going to the end of November, and then we hit South America for a few days, which should be fun too. So we can't wait.
So speaking of touring, do you notice, and this, I'm always curious about this, do you notice a difference between the US crowds and, I'll call it the overseas crowds, but it's the South American crowds and obviously overseas in Europe and Asia and all that. But do you notice the difference between US crowds and like the European crowds, let's say?
Yeah, definitely. I would say so. I think in general, I mean, everyone says this, it's a diplomatic thing to say, but it's true. Every country, every city has got its own dynamic. If you go to Japan, they're a lot more reserved, but no less passionate. I mean, some of the Japanese crowds are the most passionate in the world, but when you play, they're a lot more attentive.
Gotcha.
So they're not going nuts like they would be in Argentina, for example. But that doesn't mean that Argentina are any less passionate either. So everyone's got their own way of expressing themselves. I would say in general, though, in Europe, and we haven't played Europe. Obviously, we played there in the summer, but before that, we haven't played Europe since 2019.
Oh wow!
And then that was only a few dates because Ozzy had that was the first time Ozzy rescheduled his tour. So the last time we did a chunk of dates in Europe was 2018. So to play Europe again, it was obvious it was a lot younger. The crowd were a lot younger than they are in the US. I mean, when I say young, I mean looking out there. I mean, I'd say, low teens. I mean, sometimes even younger. But I mean, obviously they're with parents.
Sure.
In America, I'd say, if you take how crazy everyone is, if you take that discussion off the table, I'd say just from a age point of view, they're a lot older in the States. I mean, not a lot older, but I mean, it was. I remember that's one of my first impressions when I first joined the band. I was amazed how young the audience was in Europe. Compared with what I was expecting. Young kids, the new generation, and then another generation below that. It's amazing. They're singing the songs, they're singing stuff like, Invader. It's brilliant. And then they're going to grow up and then it goes on, they
absolutely
give that to their kid. That's what you want, they're buying merch and they're loving Priest, and not only Priest, but whatever bands are on these festival bills as well. So that's one thing I would say.
Now, do you have a favorite venue to play? Is there one spot that you just absolutely can't wait to play when you tour?
It's a great question. I love the Budokan in Japan just purely because of the history of the place,
Sure.
Let me think. Don't want to. That's a great one. I like the places like the Fox Theater in Detroit. Purely like it's a beautiful venue. We can walk around it and look at some of the architecture and the way they built those places, all those Fox Theaters. But that's a great one. It's the people in them. You know what I mean? It's the people in them that make them special. Sometimes some of those, the hockey venues or the arenas, they're just big concrete venues with seats in them, and we don't really see a lot of them. So they will kind of, sometimes they turn into the same venue. It's the people in them that differentiate between, the memorable nights and not so memorable nights. So that's what it is really. But as far as venues, it's the old 1920s theaters that really kind of stand out. You know, they're really atmospheric.
Sure.
From
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
They have character. Yeah, absolutely. So now, is there plans for after the tour? Is there plans for maybe another album, or you guys writing stuff? What's next for Priest after the tour?
Yeah, we've been working on it for a little while now. You know, I think people know we've been trying to. We were doing writing sessions back in, I think it was 2020, before the lockdowns happened, and we were trying to, you know, get it together. Then the COVID lockdowns happened, and we couldn't get together to finish and record because we wanted to get together to write them. When the lockdowns were lifted, then we could tour. So now the obstruction, if you want to call it that, was the touring schedule.
Yeah.
So we've been trying to fit it around the touring schedule, and we've been doing it. We've been working on it. So and obviously today as well, you don't need to have like a 100,000 square foot facility in the Bahamas to record a record. You know, the technology allows a lot more efficient recording capabilities, so you can do stuff on the road. We can do stuff, you know, at home. You know, I'm fortunate enough to have like a little recording set up. Andy's working with us, so you know we've got the guitars done. Sorry, my email's going off. It's James, he's our manager. So where are you? I'm trying to, you know.
What are you doing? Yeah, right.
Yeah, but so I think we've got most of the guitars done. We've got the drums done, the bass done. I think we need to get the vocals done. But obviously we've got the next tour leg coming up, so Rob needs to, you know, probably won't be this year. We've got, you know, we're working up until the middle of December. But Rob always says it's done when it's done. You know, and it makes sense, you know. But we've got most of it done. We're just waiting on the metal god to put his vocals down, and then we'll unleash it. But it's sounding. I spoke to Andy this morning actually, and he said it's sounding confident and it's sounding really good. And he said, I know people like to hear this stuff, but you know what the internet's like. He said it's not Firepower 2. He said, you know, it's its own thing. So
that's good though.
It's great to hear. You know, it's always good to do an album that isn't like the last one from a creative point of view. Anyway, so yeah, it's good to have something. It's exciting to have something creative like that no one's heard yet, and then when we release it, people either love it or hate it. Maybe they'll hate it. Who knows? But
absolutely,
you know, we'll see.
So now, I mean, I know that your email's going off, so I definitely have to let you go. But do you have anything else you want to tell the folks before we wrap up here?
Well, just that we're looking forward to, you know, again, the next leg. We're looking forward to coming and see you all. Looking forward to playing these different songs on the next leg. It's exciting for me as a Priest fan, so I know what it's going to be like for you guys. Songs we haven't played before for a while. Songs I haven't played with a band before at all. It's the 40th anniversary of Screaming for Vengeance, so we might be playing a couple more of that one. That's all, you know. So that's all I can say with no spoilers. So you know, looking forward to it, and yeah, just looking forward to coming to see you all again in the US. And yeah, I'll say it again. I'm looking forward to it.
So I know we were talking about before. This is the last thing I'll say, and then I'll wrap it up. But we were talking about the backgrounds and stuff. So I mean, I see you have some really nice guitars hanging there. Listen, if you have one that you just want to hang on the wall back here for a while, all you gotta do is let me know, brother. I'll allow it. Okay, just so you know.
If I've got a spare one, I know where I'm going to send it.
Oh, you are the best, brother. I appreciate it, guys. You can catch Richie Faulkner and the rest of the boys in Priest locally here at the MVP Arena on October 15th. It's the 50 Heavy Metal Years tour. Check your local venue. Everybody else for availability, or go to judaspriest.com for more info, as well as music and merch and all that stuff. Richie, my brother, listen, man, thank you for taking your time out to hang out with little old me today. It's been a highlight for me for sure, and it's been great talking. I look forward to seeing you locally here on the 15th.
Always a pleasure, man. Take it easy.
Be healthy, brother. Take care.
Bye now. Bye.
Richie Faulkner, everybody. That was definitely a highlight of my life, dude. And what a great guy to talk to. And yeah, that's it, man. That was Richie Faulkner, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and make sure you guys are checking out Judas Priest 50 Heavy Metal Years Tour, Saturday, October 15th, here in Albany, 8 p.m. with special guest Queensryche at the MVP Arena. Tickets are still available. Make sure you guys are picking them up because there's not many left. Well, there's some left, but not many. All right. So make sure you guys are picking them up. And listen, if you guys are new to the channel, head over. If you guys are on YouTube, hit the subscribe, ring the little bell over there. And if you guys are on Facebook, just give us a follow. And hey, if you guys like the video, do me a favor, just click the like button. I definitely appreciate that. I'm not going to take no more of your time either, folks. So I'm going to let you all go and have a good night. Thursday nights, we're live. So this coming Thursday night, we are, I can't remember who it is. I'm drawing a blank now. Anyways, tune in Thursday night. You guys will find out. That's it for me, folks. See ya.